Hello everybody, it's Calm Woman, your garden guy, and yes, I'm in the garden again. It's day 10 of the coronavirus lockdown, and today I'm going to be showing you all my favorite little tips on planting up pots. Yes, that's right, we're talking plants and pots today. In the pots case, believe it or not, it's true. The bigger, the better. So, how better to show you my favorite potting tips than planting a pot myself? And look at this beauty of a thing. Hey, isn't she stunning? Absolutely beautiful, beautiful. I've been lucky enough to be sponsored by Lots of Pots Nursery today, and they shared this stunner of a pot with me so I could show you all my favorite tips. Now, as I was saying, bigger is always better when it comes to pots. Why? Because the larger pot you have, the better water retention it's going to have, the better sort of temperature control you're going to have inside this pot. You can imagine this thing standing in the sun all day. So the larger volume you have available to work with, the slower your difference in temperatures and water evaporation and a number of other factors. So yes, get yourself the biggest pot possible. Every single container must have drainage. It's not optional. You have to have it. You have to have it. Right. So make sure you've got a nice big size drainage hole at the bottom. If you have to, cover it up with a bit of shade cloth or some gravel beneath, whatever's necessary, but you have to have proper drainage. You can imagine putting a plug in the bottom of this thing. It's going to fill up with water and everything will be wet and soggy and ew. I mean, who wants that in the bottom of their pot? Seriously. My next tip when it comes to selecting a container is finding one that works really well for your surroundings. So kind of have that end plan in mind, or that's where they say start with the end in mind kind of thing, because you want to know where you're going to be putting this pot to make sure you select the right pot, and in turn that will allow you to select the right plants for your pot. So pick a pot in color, in shape, in style, in material, etc., etc., that suits where you're going to be putting it. And typically you won't be using one pot alone unless you plant it sort of like I'm going to today in a feature style, or where you're planting the pot up to be a focus point on its own. Typically you want to group pots in either 5s or 7s or 3s. Uneven numbers works terrific when grouping pots, and then also in different sizes. Play around with it. There's so many options out there, so have fun with it. So now that we have the right pot, we know it's the right size, we know it's the right color, we know it's the right shape, everything is okay, it's time to start planting. Now, you have to get a good soil medium. Never, ever, ever put soil from the garden in a pot. Trust me, you'll do it once, twice, and never again, because it's an absolute disaster. You'll see real quick how it sets up and becomes this hard clay mess inside a container. Never put garden soil in a container. Always use a proper potting mix. So I've got some of my favorite potting soil from Colterra here. Whoops, all over the place. Okay, in we go. So fill your pot up right from the bottom all the way up. Don't cheat. Okay, some people like to put stuff underneath. You do that when you're working with seriously big boys, with serious big containers. That's when you use something to fill it up the bottom. Something this size, or even a bit bigger than this, you want to be using only potting soil in here. Only a good mixed, well-draining potting soil. Okay, there we go. Fill him up nicely for us. Stunning. Okay, there we go. Looking lovely. Looking lovely. So, my next tips around container gardening revolve around your plant choice. Okay, if you want to be looking at plants that group well together in terms of their water needs, their light needs. I mean, imagine planting something that loves full sun and something that loves full shade together. Sure, they might look lovely, but one's going to bloody die. You know, so keep that in mind when selecting plants for your container. And that's why we select the place where we're going to be putting our container first, so we know what kind of plants we need to be looking at. Okay, have them match each other as well as the color of your pot and its surroundings. When you're planting up a container like this, which is going to be only one container standing on its own, We want to make him the feature. Everybody should be looking at him, hey? There's Cinderella at the ball. That's her over here, hey? Okay, so I've got a beautiful little gardenia over here. And when it comes to planting up containers, there's a few different ways you can look at it. But one of the most favoritized, sort of a favorite norm people go with. And that's a filler, a thriller, and a spiller. Now, I'll talk a bit more about that as we go along. But this dude over here, he's gonna be my thriller. He's the one who's drawing the real attention in the pot, eh? Okay, and this is a gardenia I'm using over here. And we wanna make sure always plant on the same soil level as the plant was when you got it. Okay, not deeper, not shallower, exact same soil level as it was in the container you bought it. Very, very, very important. And this feature pot we're going to be using here is going to be viewed from all the way around, 360 degrees. If we were going to put this pot in a corner, you'd want your larger shrubs to the back of the pot. So you build a bit of height and scale. Okay, good little designer's tip there. Right, so our thriller is looking beautiful and happy. Cinderella's at the ball. Now we got to dress her a bit, okay? Now, look at this little stunner. It's a K-Rex. These are going to be my little fillers. So we've got the thriller here standing proud. And these dudes are going to be just chilling around his feet, looking stunning and beautiful as they do. And they're going to fill the pot up nicely for us around the bottom. Okay? In many cases, your filler will typically act sort of like a living mulch, if I can put it that way. It's going to be covering the bottom of the pot so you don't lose too much water through evaporation and that kind of thing. And look at that, that's stunning. That's beautiful. So I've got 3 of them. I'm going to pop in here quickly. You can just stand there and look as we beautify Cinderella's pot over here. There we go. So you want to make sure they've got more or less the same water needs. And that's something to keep in mind. K-Rex does enjoy a bit more water than gardenia, I must admit, but I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. There we go. Our last little filler coming to the party. So we're going to stick him in this side over here. Look at that. So we've got our thriller, our fillers, and next will come our little spillers that fall over the sides of the pot. Now, you've got to make very sure that they're all planted at the same level, eh? That's a really important. In comes the potting soil, just filling him up here quickly. Oh, this is going to be beautiful, man. This is going to be beautiful. Just backfill it nicely. Firm them in nicely so they sit tight and upright. Beautiful. There we go. Our Cinderella's at the ball. Now she needs her shoes. Where are our little fillers? Ah, here we go. Here's my spillers. Look at this. Look at this lovely little lady, Lobellaria. Oh, Lobellaria maritima. And look at that. Look at her go. Isn't that stunning? Can you see how I'm playing with the whites? With a variation in the K-Rex. And this gardenia makes a beautiful scented white flower. They're going to be absolutely stunning when in bloom. Especially when we've got this color of a wave of color spilling over the edge of our bowl over here. Can you just imagine it? It's going to be stunning. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. Here we go. Last 2, 3 on this side. Stunning. Oh, she's looking stunning. Right, so you want to remember when working with containers that you have good drainage, that you have the biggest pot you can use, so that you have the biggest pot possible, and that you're using plants with similar needs. Look at that. Gonna be stunning. Once this gardenia is in flower, I'm telling you, not a single soul will pass this lady without giving her a second look. I assure you, I promise you. A few maintenance tips when it comes to containers is always check your moisture level. Just stick your finger in a centimeter or 2. and you'll know if it needs water or not. Remember to check it quite often, every day or so, every day or two, depending on your pot size, of course, and your different plants in the pot will also influence when and how much you water it. Some other tips would be, during your soil mix, you could add a slow release fertilizer as well. That's a great bit of advice, especially if you're planting something like I am here, which is a bit more of a perennial type plant, which you will be leaving in the pot for quite some time. Then it's quite nice to have a slow release fertilizer in. So look at our stunning little pot here. She is going to be an absolute beauty in any garden. And yes, go ahead and try it yourself, man. Plant up a whole pair of jeans if you have to. You know, play around. As long as you stick to the big rules, as I've mentioned, the strong tips, stick to them quite reliably, and you should have no trouble gardening in containers. I hope my tips have helped you out. If there's anything else you'd like to know, please feel free to give me a shout. And yes, I'd be happy to answer your queries. I've been Carl Moorman. Thank you for your time. Until next time, enjoy your garden and happy planting.